Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Redington virtual sessions. Today, we have a session on Fortinet's FortiNAC, and the session will be given by Mr. Josefa. At the end of the session, we will be ready to answer all your question and answers, and then we have a Q&A box where you can put in all your queries, and then Josefa will be answering them. So, Josefa, over to you.
Thank you, Bandhya, and good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome. So today's session will be about FortiNAC, that is Network Access Control. So we'll see in this session, we'll see what FortiNAC offers, what are the challenges that it addresses, and we'll see some deployment scenarios, some use cases, and how you can pitch in FortiNAC. And basically, is the whole fundamental of this particular presentation is to help you understand what FortiNAC offers and what are the questions that you can ask to the customer to know that there is a requirement for FortiNAC. So basically, you will understand what is FortiNAC and where does it fit in the customer's environment. So what we have here is the challenges that keep the CISOs up at night. Okay, so basically, Gartner says that 9.1 billion connected business things in 2021. That is so many IoT devices will be there by the end of 2021. Now, we all know that the access layer is the broadest threat surface in the enterprise. Why it is the broadest threat surface? Because that is where all the users connect. So we have wired, wireless, and VPN access. So the access layer is one of the biggest concerns of CISOs and IT administrators. And fundamentally, there are more and more devices connecting to the network, and they are driving more and more traffic on that network. So administrators need a way to manage that growth and secure it at the same time. So growth in devices, not just the user devices, but also IoT devices is a big concern for the CISOs. Then we also need to see the CISOs also need to see how they can improve network visibility or how they can get complete visibility of the network. Okay, so when a customer says, they have a firewall or they have a complete visibility, uh, it's one of your biggest driving factors, to address that sort of customer. You can just introduce a FortiNAC and show them what all is missing from the visibility of his network, what all he's not able to see, all the shadow ITs, all the unauthorized devices. So that is again a major concern. Now the third concern is regulatory compliance. Okay, so CISOs need proof that the enterprise is controlling and monitoring its network. So they need a proof, they need some kind of audit, okay, so that they can prove their compliance. And there are many compliance which need an asset-based inventory. Okay, so these are the some of the challenges by CISOs or by security heads or CISOs. Now, what is the challenge of IoT or Internet of Things? So as we know, the first point is that the IoT devices are growing day by day. Okay, so whatever devices nowadays we see have an IP address, okay, are connected to the network. So we have televisions, we have refrigerators, we have ACs, we have biometrics, we have printers, so many IoT devices, cameras, and all those. Okay. Now, to break into a network or to breach a network, do you think every solution has to fail in that particular organization? Or do you feel that there has to be a huge opening to get into the network? So the fact is, it only takes one open port or one open service, one unknown device, and one uncontained threat to breach an entire network. Okay. So if your IoT devices are not secured, if your access layer is not secured, there is a huge risk for the security administrators. Now, we have the Fortinet security fabric, which is a broad integrated and automated framework. So broad because it covers the whole security threat, digital attack surface. It is integrated, so all the solutions or all the technologies that we see on the screen are integrated and they talk to each other. And they are automated, so they can take automated actions or they can do automated responses. So we have network security, network operations, fabric connectors, multi-cloud security, application security, security operations, secure access, endpoint device and protection, and fabric APIs to connect with third-party vendors. Now, FortiNAC comes at the endpoint or device protection level of the security fabric. So FortiNAC basically offers a network access control and endpoint profiling, endpoint identification, and granular access control. Security in the world of IoT. So basically, FortiNAC, offers security not just for your corporate devices, for your IoT devices or headless devices, and also for BYOD devices, bring your own devices. So FortiNAC basically has three pillars, or you can say three feature sets. So the first one is visibility, then it follows it by control, then we have automated response. So we'll see each of the pillars of Fortinet, that is visibility, control, and automated response in detail. So first is visibility. Now, the NAC solutions are sold in many cases they are sold not for their access control, just they are even sold just for the visibility that they provide. So no amount of monitoring solutions or firewalls or switches can provide the level of visibility that a NAC solution provides. So FortiNAC will see the different identification and profiling methods also in detail. So first is visibility, where it discovers all endpoints or IoT devices, users, and even applications. Okay. So now when we say discover, it just does not discover. It does not just detect it. It's not and just a IP address detection. It even profiles the device. It can identify the device, based on various parameters. Now it can identify whether this device is a phone, is a camera, is a fax machine, whether it's a printer, okay, whether it's a switch, it's a access point, it's a laptop, workstation, a mobile device, all types of identification, device identification. So uh, it can interact more than 2000 network devices. It also has multi-vendor wired and wireless connectivity. So basically, it can take inputs from all vendors and models. Okay, so there is hardly any limitation of any integration for visibility with any third-party vendor. So it basically covers all the network infrastructure. Identify and profile every endpoint. So we had already discussed this. So there are various policies, created by granular device type. Then it can also extend vulnerability and patch management to non-Forti client users. Leverages FortiGate for passive identification via traffic scanning. And on top of that, it also provides an inbuilt guest management. So there is a self-registration where the guest can self-register itself and get access to internet. Now, visibility or agentless data collection. So the visibility is completely agentless. So there is no agent required on the endpoints to get the device visibility or to profile the devices. Now, how we get all those data is from connecting to various access layer devices. We can take data from switches via SNMP. We can do that from routers. We can get information from the access point. We can access point and the wireless controller. We can get all the wireless device information. We can collect information from firewalls, from SIMs, from other third-party devices also, IDS or IPS also. Okay, so huge variety of protocols available to detect devices and huge variety of coverage available with the network device type. Now we move on to the endpoint identification. So here we see the various device profiling methods. So, so visibility comprises of endpoint identification or device profiling rules. So here you can see we have 17 profiling methods. So earlier, around a year back, we had 13 profiling methods. We added 4 more profiling methods here. So these profiling rules are compared against each and every unknown device that is found on the network. So when a device matches a profiling rule, the device becomes registered or authorized on the FortiNAC. Okay, so and a unique device type is assigned to it. At the same time, you can assign a role to that particular device, whether it's a corporate device, whether it's a guest device. So you can assign a role. Also, you can add that particular device in a device group on which further policies can be applied. Now, it's not necessary that you have to enable all the 17 device profiling rules. So whatever is applicable to detect a particular device, you can enable all those mechanisms, whether it is DHCP fingerprint, whether it is vendor OUI, TCP. So printers can be detected by the ports through which they connect. You can also assign a location, which location it is detected at. You can create your whole topology tree. So you can create if there are multiple geographical locations or multiple buildings, multiple floors, multiple offices. So you can, based on where the device is present, you can create a topology tree. So there are, as you can see, there are 17 different device profiling rules. If you enable more methods, that means the device to be registered or to be profiled has to pass through more methods. So more methods means more trust. So if you have more detection methods, it means that it will become more and more difficult for an attacker to spoof a particular MAC address or to bypass an unauthorized device into the network. Now control. So control is the second pillar of FortiNAC. So control provides automated authentication and authorization. So we have detailed user and device profiles, and we evaluate each role, location, time, day, and device metrics for decisions. So based on what type of device it is, where it is connecting, we can go to such granular levels where we can say that this device, if a particular device connecting on this particular switch port, okay, or port 1 on the switch port, okay, take this particular action. So it can go to very granular levels where you can take a single device on a connecting on a single port. You can make that level of decisions also with the control feature. So we have dynamic network access control, means based on the device type, based on the role, automatically their network access or their VLANs can be assigned, and we can enable micro segmentation. So by it's an enablement towards micro segmentation. So when you know what type of devices you have in your network, you can have more granular network segmentation. Okay. Next is automated response. Now we saw the visibility, we saw the control. So in control, we can automatically switch the network access. On top of that, we have automated response. So basically, it bridges the SOC and NOC capabilities, or the SOC and NOC functionalities can be bridged with it. So rapid security event triage. So automated rules can respond in seconds to profile changes. So if there are any changes in the profile, automated actions can be triggered. So we'll also see an example in the coming slide with automated options, automated actions with FortiNAC and FortiGate. Accelerate threat investigations. So device history compiled from multiple sources instantly available. So you have a complete history of how that device connected in your network. So you can take more granular actions, or you can do more granular troubleshooting of an incident. Granular containment options. So we also have granular containment options. So if the device or the endpoint does not match any particular profiles or any particular security compliance, we can quarantine that particular user, or we can quarantine that particular device, or we can put them into a VLAN where only internet access is available. So we can completely quarantine the whole network access of that endpoint, or we can say internet only connectivity. So we saw the three functionalities: visibility, control, and automated response. Now we have continuous device profiling. So at the time when the device connects, we profile the particular device, or we identify that particular device. Now this is continuous. So it's not that if a particular device has been profiled or identified on a particular port, we stop profiling it further. No, it's a continuous process. So here we see the flow. So here we see the flow. We have a printer connected to the network. Then so as soon as the printer connects to the switch sends an SNMP trap to FortiNAC. Okay. Now FortiNAC will identify and profile the device, that this device is a printer. So based on that identification, FortiNAC can switch it to a VLAN where printers are supposed to be placed. Okay, so all this happens in the backend and all automated. So FortiNAC will connect to the switch and tell the switch, okay, please change the port to this particular VLAN so that the printer is placed into a specific particular VLAN. Now, containments of lateral threats at edge. Now, if a user brings infected laptop to work, FortiGate sends event to FortiNAC. Now, FortiGate has visibility of compromised hosts, so it can get the details of compromised hosts from a variety of other security fabric solutions. Now, when a compromised host or a user brings a laptop with infection, FortiGate can tell the FortiNAC to quarantine the laptop at the access layer so that it does not connect to the it does not connect to the network and spread at the lateral edge. Okay. So now if we only have FortiGate is generally the gateway. So we can prevent the compromised host from the north to south traffic, from private network to public network. We cannot restrict the communication, or a FortiGate will not have any control or any visibility of east to west traffic. Okay, so with FortiNAC we can quarantine the laptop at the access layer. Now, key platform differentiators, we can see some key advantages of FortiNAC. Broad device awareness, so it supports more than 2000 network infrastructure devices. There are bidirectional APIs for integrating FortiNAC with other third-party platforms. So we have ready integration available with more than 150 plus third-party vendors. So it's the biggest portfolio or biggest repository of third-party vendors that can be integrated into a network access control. So device identification is done in seconds. So when you just integrate the FortiGate with your network infrastructure, immediately you will start seeing all the network devices that are there in your environment. So we support both wired and wireless, and we are not reliant on 802.1x for discovery or enforcement. So there are many solutions out there which rely on 802.1x. And trust me, when your solution needs 802.1x to be enforced or throughout your environment, it is a very tedious task. Okay. So it might look easy in the POC or when you are tackling a smaller group of systems for a demo or for a POC, it might be good enough or it might be okay to do the changes that are required for .1x authentication. Okay. But rolling out 802.1x throughout the organization is a very big task. Okay. And I have personally, I have seen many solutions, many customers opting for such solutions and they fall flat. So I have some customers who have, taken the solutions from other vendors, and from years they are just keeping that solution without rolling out because they realize that it's not an easy task for thousands of systems to be brought into 802.1x. And scalable architecture. So I will show you some deployment examples as well. So you will see how easy to scale it is for FortiNAC. Okay. And one of the biggest differentiators is FortiNAC does not require viewing network traffic. Okay. It does not require to see network traffic to profile a device. So one of the competitors of FortiNAC is ForScout. ForScout is inline. It has to see the network traffic. You have to span the or mirror the core switch traffic or the distribution switch traffic to ForScout for it to identify or profile the device. Okay, so we don't need to have any visibility for the network traffic to profile. So we don't need to see or we don't need spanning of the network traffic for us to identify or profile a particular endpoint. So that is the reason. Uh, that is the reason we don't require an appliance to be deployed on each individual branch location. So with ForScout, you need a particular VM or a appliance on each and every branch site to have complete visibility. Whereas in our case, we just need reachability. You can have a centralized FortiNAC, and just if you have visibility via MPLS or VPN, if you have visibility to all your branch locations, there is no need to place a separate FortiNAC, a VM or an appliance at each and every branch location. So elements of network access control solution. So what are the parts of our solution? So uh, we have the NAC appliance or hardware appliance. We have NAC virtual machines. So virtual machines are the most popular solution for us. ForScout, however, proposes their appliance. So the major reason for it is the span port. Okay, because when ForScout is placed as a VM in a virtualized environment, there is a limitation on the number of IOPS, input outputs, that can that can a VM can take. Okay, IOPS that a VM can handle. When you are spanning the traffic from a core switch, it usually is a huge number. Okay, so they usually propose appliances, but in our case, we don't need the visibility of the network traffic. Okay, we don't need to see the network flow or the network traffic. We just need to connect to the network devices. We integrate through SNMP or through CLI, and we get all the information needed for us. So the most popular solution or most popular platform for us is VM. Then we have uh, license levels. So we have basic, plus, and pro. We have three licensing levels: basic, plus, and pro. So we'll see the licensing schemes as well. So just remember, we have FortiNAC as an appliance as well as an also as a hardware appliance as well, and also as a virtual appliance. So FortiNAC licensing levels, we have basic, plus, and pro. So we can see all endpoint devices on the network. So uh, basic license level. If I want to summarize, I can say basic provides visibility, plus provides visibility and control, and pro provides visibility, control, and response. So basic usually covers the first pillar of Fortinet, plus covers the two pillars, that is visibility and control, and pro covers each and every feature of the Fortinet. Okay. Now basic has all the visibility, but basic does not see user identification or user information. So it has all the information of the devices and endpoints, but it does not have the visibility of user identification. Plus has that control. It can assign based on the device type, based on the device profile. It can assign it network access, but plus can also check compliance on top of that. So compliance, like whether the system belongs to a corporate domain, okay, whether the system has a particular operating system, whether the system is not running any particular untrusted process or application. So if all the compliance rules are matched, only then it will allow network access or corporate access. So you can have a combination of rules like domain check, operating system check, then you can have application or process check. There are a number of rules that you can check for compliance. So even if the device is profile, even if the device is registered or authorized, but if it fails a particular compliance check, it will not be allowed network access. Then pro gets automated response. Okay. Now, automated response usually talks about integration with third-party vendors, or integration, or I would say orchestration. Now, one of the biggest differentiators is the licensing of Pro. So if you take a Pro license, you can have basically orchestration for all supported vendors. So for example, you take 100 Pro licenses, you can integrate those 100 users or 100 endpoints with any third party orchestration or automated response vendor. So if any of the attendees or any of the participants present today know about the licensing of ForScout, they have a base module and then an extended modules. So base module covers, basic network devices and all those things. But if you need to integrate with any particular vendor outside of the base module, you have to buy license for each and every individual vendor. For example, if you want to integrate with Rapid7, you will have to take 100 licenses for Rapid7. Okay, if you want to integrate with any MDM solution, you have to buy 100 licenses for that MDM solution, and so on. So it is for each and every vendor. Whereas for us, if you buy 100 Pro licenses, you are then free to choose whichever vendor you want to integrate with. So that is one of the biggest advantages of the Pro license. Now you can also have a combination of these licenses. So you can have a plus license. So plus license is usually our sweet spot, or our sweet spot license, that is, it covers visibility and control, which is 90% times the requirement of the customer. Okay, so many times the customer just does not want visibility, they want visibility and control, and and typically they don't want the automated response part. So Plus is, the sweet selling point of ours, which is providing visibility and control as a whole package. Okay, so you can also have a combination of Plus and Pro licenses. For example, you can buy 2000 licenses for Plus and 500 licenses for Pro. So you can have a mix and match of it. So to summarize, FortiNAC provides visibility, which is identify and profile all endpoints, IoT devices, users, and applications. Second, it provides control, that is segmentation based on endpoint characteristics and behavior. Third is automated response, which is continuous risk assessment and automated response for dynamic network access control across third-party devices. Now, some of the deployment scenarios. So here we can see a deployment scenario that is a small organization. So small scenarios usually is covering 250 to 15,000 access ports or wireless devices. So the sizing of FortiNAC is usually on the number of switch ports available, not the number of devices, the number of switch ports that the customer has, because any port which is free can also be used to gain access, right? So we need to control each and every switch port, and we have to ask the maximum number of peak wireless connections. So if the customer has 2000 switch ports and maximum peak wireless connections at 500, so you just need 2500 licenses. Okay. So for a small deployment, you can basically deploy a FortiNAC appliance or a VM. So both C and A, that is application and control appliance together. So it's a combo appliance where both the application functionalities and the control functionalities are controlled or handled by a single VM or a single appliance. So in a medium appliance, you can have different CNA appliances on branch size. So when the sizing is more than 12,000 to 60,000 switch ports, so quite a big environment with multiple branch locations. So you can, for larger branch offices, you can have a separate application and control appliance, and you can have a centralized manager. Now, the centralized manager, you can also manage the licenses centrally. Okay, so it's not like you have to purchase the licenses individually at for each of the branch locations. You can manage the licenses centrally from all for all your branch offices from the management VM. Now, for very large deployments, you can segregate the application and control VMs into individual solutions or individual VMs, and other branch offices can have their own combo of application and control VMs. So this is for a very huge network, and again, the licenses can be managed by the central manager FortiNAC manager VM. So the most primary scenario or the most common scenario for FortiNAC is application and control as a standalone one. Okay. Now deployment examples, we have customer stories. So Atrius Health is one of the biggest customers for FortiNAC globally. So Atrius Health is a mid-size healthcare provider. So they realized that they had issues with their knowledge and control of their network. So their primary issue was visibility and control. They have 36 locations. Okay, they had 36 locations, and the challenge was that their IT team was located centrally. So they lacked a complete visibility of each and every location. So that was one of their biggest challenge. So additionally, with the physical layout of the clinics and the flow of patients and care providers, so in hospitality industry, so there are lots of patients and guests coming in. So that was their biggest challenge of someone gaining unauthorized access to their corporate network. So to resolve this issue, they deployed the Plus license, FortiNAC Plus. Uh, so what they got was visibility and control. So and the result was that they saw several unauthorized switches, several unauthorized access points, and a lot of shadow IT. And because of this visibility, they were able to do granular control and restructure their IT to get maximum security. So Atrius Health was primarily a Cisco network. So it was a big win because Cisco has its own network access control, that is Cisco ICE. And one of the challenges of Cisco ICE is that it is dependent on 802.1x enforcement or authentication. Plus, it heavily relies on a Cisco infrastructure. Okay, whereas FortiNAC is completely vendor agnostic. So we don't usually care what is the access layer beneath. Okay, we cover more than 150 plus vendors, 150 plus network devices, and so on. A similar win was a customer, okay, which was into smart building complex. Okay, so again, 6,000 employees, 3,000 plus IoT devices, lots of environmental controls, secure elevators, 1,300 cameras. That means a huge, count of IoT or headless devices. So it was very difficult to control because these sort of devices don't have any agents on top of that. So when you have agents, any endpoint security agent or any type of network agent, so you can have more visibility on it. But because of such environment, it was a good case for Fortinet to provide visibility and control. Again, you can see that FortiNAC Plus was offered, which is the sweet spot. Now, how to sell? So, how to sell FortiNAC? So, when you are having a conversation with a customer and you want to say whether that customer is a candidate for NAC, you can ask simple yet revealing questions. That is, what is on your network, or do you have complete visibility of your network? So this can get the IT security or the CISO person thinking about various tools they have to detect and identify what is on the network. So they might think about a lot of monitoring solutions. If they don't say they have a next solution, they have a candidate. You have a candidate, okay? So plus if they say that they have a firewall, okay, which gives them usually the visibility that they require. So now it's true that the firewall sees all the IP addresses, okay, and can detect what is happening with devices, and running with any client software. So the customer says he has a firewall, he has devices running with client software, but you can then ask him how he is identifying and profiling the IoT devices on which you cannot have any client software. Okay. So similarly, you can ask, if they have a lot of IoT devices. This is another way to bring up the threat of hidden headless IoT devices in front of the customer. Third is certifications or compliance. You can ask them, whether they fall under any compliance, because there are some compliance which require audit, inventory audits or asset audits. And FortiNAC, with its huge device profiling and reporting, can provide all the necessary documents and asset inventory required for the customer. So now we'll see visibility. Now, visibility is identifying where the device is connecting from, whether it's from a VPN, a wireless, or a switch. Then who is connecting? So identifying the location from it connected, then who connected, who is the user who is connecting, whether it's a corporate user or guest user or any auditor, or in case of healthcare, whether it's a doctor or any nurse or something. Then what he connected. what type of device, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a phone, and what OS is it running, and when it connected. So you can also have time-based rules. So you can also mention that a corporate device should only be allowed to connect within office hours and not after that. Okay. Control, basically, after you identify the device, the user, and the access risk or compliance, whether the device is safe to allow it to access to your corporate, then you can take actions whether you want to allow access, allow guest access only, allow restricted access, or allow unrestricted access or corporate access. So based on the type of device, the type of user, the type of from where it is connecting, you can decide what access that particular device should get. If it is not compliant, if it's not a registered user, I don't want any access to it. You can also go to that particular level. So final few slides. So as I mentioned, earlier we had 17. Earlier we had 13 endpoint profiling methods. So in our 8.5 release, we had additional two profiling methods, that is WMI and WinRM. Okay, extended fabric integration. So we integrated with FortiAnalyzer for all the reporting. So you don't need to have a separate reporting VM for dedicated only for only for FortiNAC. If you have a FortiAnalyzer, we can integrate with the FortiAnalyzer. So no need for any separate reporting solution. We also integrated with the FortiClient EMS, and we also integrated with a FortiGate to provide intent-based segmentation. Now, in another release, 8.6. Currently, we are running 8.7, which is the latest release, 8.7. So the most common deployment right now is 8.6. So 8.6 introduced expanded fabric and integration. So here we saw we also integrated the firewall as a profiling method and network flow also as a profiling method. So we can also now able to integrate and see the network traffic and try to profile the device. So now in 8.5 additional two were added, and in 8.6 additional two device profiling methods were added. So earlier it was 13, now with more 4 additions, it is currently 17 device profiling methods. So guys, this is it. We'll move on to the Q&A. So is this, so I have a question from Biju Kumar. So will this solution work as agentless? Any limitations in such deployment? So yes, it can work agentless. So if you want visibility and device profiling, complete device profiling and network access, it can work completely agentless. But if you want to enforce some compliance, okay, so if you want to have granular compliance like checking the OS, checking the what processes are running on that, what OS is running, whether it is part of a domain. So for that we need an agent. The agent is called persistent agent. So we can also do a silent install. We have different agent based mechanisms. Also, we have a dissolvable agent, means it will install. Once it checks the compliance, it will be removed from the system. So we have dissolvable agent, we have persistent agent, and so on. Then another question is, any comparison available among other vendors? Yes. So I have this question from Ashok Kumar. So if you go to our partner portal, we have complete battle cards. So complete battle cards with Forescout, with Aruba, or currently it is HPE, that is Hewlett Packard or HP Enterprises. Then we also have with Cisco ICE. So if I want to summarize, the competitive edge, with Forescout, we have a huge advantage with licensing. Okay. So as I mentioned, the pro license, the integration with third-party vendors is very smooth, and you don't need to purchase individual licenses for individual vendors. And their base module covers very minimum set of third-party vendors. Okay, you have to buy extended modules on top of it. So another advantage with ForScout, we don't need to see, or we don't need to place a VM at each and every branch location. We can be centralized. So in this scenario, we are much scalable in terms of architecture than ForScout. Plus, we don't need to see the network traffic. So these are some advantages that we have against ForScout. With ClearPass, ClearPass is very focused, or very focused on wireless, and the wired capabilities are much more less. And again, it depends on 802.1x. With Cisco ICE, I would say that Cisco ICE is heavily dependent on a Cisco infrastructure. And another um, so usually what Cisco does, it if it has uh, you know if it has a huge order of access layer, that is switches and APs, it generally gives the Cisco ICE as free. Okay, so now, is this an advantage? No. Okay, why? Because it is a similar case where where the you can consider Cisco ICE as a Ferrari. Okay, the Ferrari is given as free to the customer, but now to manage the Ferrari, the customer has to build a huge garage, has to have 4 skilled mechanics to handle that particular Ferrari. So is it free? No, it turns out to be much more expensive in terms of management. Okay, and again, Cisco ICE is heavily dependent on 802.1x. So the example earlier that I gave of a customer, I don't want to name the customer, but the product it had was Cisco ICE. Okay, and I know that that particular Cisco ICE was sitting in the customer's environment for more than a year without being deployed, because after the POC, they realized that to deploy it in corporate or throughout the organization is a very tedious task. Okay, so guys, any more questions? You can reach out to us via email, or you can directly connect
There
with
are
me.
a few more questions. Sorry to cut you. There are 3 more
Yes,
questions. You can answer them.
yes. Okay, okay. So okay, we have, if we need to use posture to check the antivirus or Windows update before the access, we need to use the agent. Yes. Okay, for Kasim's question, I answered that already. To check the compliance, we need to have an agent. But as I mentioned, that agent can be a persistent agent, which is installed permanently, or we can have it as a dissolvable agent. So it will install, it will check the compliance when the device connects, and then it will remove itself. What is the difference? What is difference between basic and pro license? So price difference, Biju, you will have to contact with us. So there will be, of course, a price difference between basic and pro. Now, for exact sizing, it's better you, for initial cases, you reach to us. Okay, because it's not like pro will always be the best solution, or basic will always be the best solution, or pro is generally not required for the entire organization. Okay, it is typically required for a certain set of high security or high risk clients. Okay, so as I mentioned, we can identify that, and we can have a mix and match. Now, if the customer, thank you, Biju, for asking this question. So about the price difference between basic and pro, of course, there will be a difference between basic to plus and plus to pro. Now, why this question is good? Because I want to highlight one more thing, is that initially the customer can buy just the basic license. He can have the complete visibility. Later on, he can upgrade the basic license to plus license. He does not need to purchase the plus license again. He can just take a upgrade package from basic to plus, or basic to pro, or from plus to pro. So the licensing is very, very flexible. Okay. We can integrate it. The last question from Kasim again is, can we integrate it with Cisco WLC and push VLAN ID like ICS? We can integrate with Cisco WLC. We can integrate with Aruba controller. Okay. So we can also, get VLAN information, VLAN name, VLAN ID information also from those controllers, or SSID information basically.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Huzefa, for answering all our queries. We will quickly move on to a small quiz. We just have around 5 questions there to ask all of you. I will share my screen and I would request all of you to log into the website, which I will display.
So guys, this is a Q&A, sort of a small quiz. So based on today's session, there are 5 questions that we have. So whoever answers the most correct ones and the quickest to answer, okay, will be on the leaderboard. So Bindya will guide you through it. So please log in onto this website.
Yeah, so all of you can see a website address on top, that is paulev.com/moneyplan085. I would request all of you to type the same in your web browser and log in. In case you are having trouble signing in, please leave a message in the Q&A so that we can help you out.
So it's paulev.com/moneyplant085.
I will wait for another 30 seconds and hoping all of you will be able to log in. Then I will start the quiz. Just a quick update on other Fortinet sessions that we have lined up for the rest of the month. We will be sending all of you an invite so you all can sign up for all of the sessions that you would like to attend. Also, at the end of the session, we will be sending you a recording of the webinar as well so that you all can go back and refer to it anytime you all want. We will also be sending you the contact details of our sales personnel as well as Huzefa, so you all can reach out to us at any point of time. So hoping that all of you are able to log in for the quiz, I am going to begin the quiz. Here comes the first question. So this is the current leaderboard. Thank you everyone for joining us in this session, and thanks for participating in the quiz. We will keep in touch with you with regards to the recording of the webinar as well as the invites for the future sessions. Hope all of you have a great day ahead. Thanks again.
Thank you everyone. So